Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time, except when we are going back in the time machine to season 3, and we are
back in the Murderbot Diaries.
Going to the Murderbot Diaries, and we are discussing the themes and characters of Platform Decay by Martha Wells. Although, before we started recording, I did have the thought of like, can we make an entire episode of like, I don't know, I just liked it. Like, are there deeper themes? I don't know.
I think we've done this before.
Liked it. Like, I think we've done it with so many of her books.
I think the answer is yes, Hannah, that we can talk for an hour without actually having something to talk about.
Well, let's try it because I don't.
We've already lost all our listeners. They're gone. They're like, another bottle episode. Okay.
Another bottle episode. We're going to be talking about blueberries and strawberries and
OMG, don't get me started on fruit.
It is fruit season, so you know
it is fruit season. And I just had to go to a bridal shower, and there was a lot of good fruit. And
we're growing watermelon in our backyard right now.
Are you?
And yeah,
we did watermelon last year, and it was pretty good. We only had a few, but they were pretty good.
So we only grow it in pots right now. We didn't actually like plant it in the actual garden proper, but we did plant old seeds. And I am paranoid about planting old seeds because I'm like, nothing will come up. They're dead to the world. And of course, like that is the pot where like 6 watermelon plants popped up, and we need to transfer some over into a new pot. So, you know. I was proven wrong, as often happens. But Laura, before we dive in,
can I ask before we get into sticking with the fruit? Do you like, or first of all, do you call it muskmelon or do you call it cantaloupe?
Cantaloupe.
Okay, because there's specifically like a Midwest divide here where apparently we're in the middle of cantaloupe / muskmelon.
What do you call it?
I call it muskmelon, actually.
Oh, okay.
I've always called it muskmelon, but
I call it don't put that near my plate.
Can I ask why? Because
it tastes disgusting. It tastes bad. I don't like it. And anytime it touches fruit, it taints all the fruit it touches.
It makes my mouth like itch. I think I'm slightly allergic to it or something.
Because, I do think you may just be allergic.
Recently, and I'm like, my mouth feels weird. I don't like how my mouth feels. Like the inside of my mouth feels itchy. And or my lips will feel itchy, and I'm like, I've ate this for years, and I think within just the past couple years, or maybe past 4 or 5, I've noticed that I get this feeling from muskmelon or cantaloupe, and now I'm just steering clear of it because of this. And I'm like, did I develop a food allergy to this thing? Apparently so.
You may have. This is like when I realized that sometimes when I eat popcorn, my throat swells up a little bit. And I was like, oh, my grandma was allergic to corn, so guess I have a slight allergy. Like, didn't think I did, but apparently
I hope that never
there.
happens to me with popcorn because I love popcorn deeply.
Here's the thing. It's so specific that I think it's a specific like pollen type. So like I'm never having like a full-on allergic reaction. It's just sometimes my throat itches when I eat popcorn. So is that going to stop me from eating popcorn? Absolutely not. Did it make one of my sisters apoplectic because she's gotten really anxious about food allergens and she wants me to stop eating popcorn? Yes, it did. So
sure. I will say it has turned me off of muskmelon. I
really hate the taste of muskmelon. I've always hated the taste. And when I was growing
up,
do
you do honeydew or no?
No, thank you. So like my mom,
it's like the green muskmelon.
My mom would put cantaloupe into like fruit stuff.
Yes, everyone always puts it in fruit salads.
And I would refuse to eat it, and she'd get so mad at me. And I was like, no, all I taste is cantaloupe. And then my aunt came to live with us, and she refused to eat it. And she was like, well, anytime it touches cantaloupe, it all tastes like cantaloupe. And then my mom started separating it out, but she tried to gaslight me into being like, that's not real, until someone else told her that it was real.
I agree with you, because I've even noticed, like, so yesterday when I was at this baby shower, I was
probably
trying
getting an allergic reaction.
I was trying to pick around the cantaloupe to get to the other stuff, but I was still noticing, like, I have a weird feeling a little bit in my mouth. It wasn't as intense as just eating the cantaloupe, but I think you're right that it does.
It gets everywhere.
It gets on everything and makes it have that gross, nasty cantaloupe taint.
Yeah, I really hate cantaloupe. But Laura, let's not dive into the episode. Let's get into what we're reading, watching, and or enjoying because we are not enjoying cantaloupe, guys.
We hate cantaloupe. This is the fruit podcast where we like lots of fruits, but we hate cantaloupe.
Welcome back to the fruit pod. We're
Known
here for the
cantaloupe
strawberry.
haters. We will now call it muskmelon because that's a stupid name, and we just
It is, and it is
it's
like a
appropriate
musk.
for that
Like I
fruit
do think it is appropriate because it does like musk up everything it touches. So I think you're right on the
and
like
sends people to the hospital because their mouths are itchy.
my cousin who lived with us loved cantaloupe so much he would like
Oh
eat an
man,
entire cantaloupe by himself. And I always thought that was the grossest thing possible. And then
that's
like
possibly a red flag.
I he has many. No. This man married with three children. He has so
I
many
eat
red
multiple
flags.
cantaloupes a day. Red flag. Stay away from that man.
Laura has to be far away. The musk is going to get on her and she's going to go into anaphylactic shock,
He's got
guys.
a musk to him.
Oh, beautiful. No, we do love fruit on this podcast. So welcome to the fruit pod, guys.
Favorite
Round
fruit, Hannah, just to remind people.
I think it is strawberries. Did I say that? My mom was allergic to strawberries. Speaking of allergies to
Mhm.
fruit. So, what's your favorite fruit?
I'd have to go. At the moment, I'm saying either strawberries or blueberries. I like both
Well,
of those.
I've gone on record that the best combo is pineapple, strawberry, and blueberries mixed together.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's just the best
I
combo
also
you're ever
really
gonna
like
get.
raspberries, but I
Raspberries
do
are good.
not really like them mixed with things because they get kind of when they toss around and stuff, they get destroyed easily.
So we all know that I don't like pies because I don't like the texture of a cooked fruit.
Yes, you don't like hot
However,
fruit.
I do love a raspberry jam. And if you put raspberry
Mhm.
jam on things, that is my jam because it is my
Mhm.
favorite jam. So raspberry jam
Do you like
is.
cottage cheese?
I do like cottage cheese, yes.
So it's like I think this is also maybe a Midwest thing. Listeners from around the globe sound off. Do
Just so
you
no, it's a huge
do
cottage cheese is a huge trend right now. So many people are doing so much with cottage cheese
well,
that
I
they
was
shouldn't be
going to
doing.
directly connect it back to fruit because I eat fruit on cottage
Oh,
cheese,
you do like the peach mixture?
peach or pears, and then
Okay.
my grandma puts tomatoes on them, and I don't know that that's necessarily a bad combo either. She's done that for a long time, but also I can do blueberries on
Okay.
cottage
Interesting.
cheese too.
So my parents used to mix lima beans with their cottage cheese and did more of a
Interesting.
savory kind of tonal shift. I I haven't done much mixtures as an adult because I haven't like I've
Mm.
gotten away from the cottage cheese. I used to eat it by like the tub full as a child and it
Oh,
was too
I,
much
I
cottage
adore cottage
cheese.
cheese.
So I haven't eaten it as much as an adult. Like I've been adding it to like eggs and things like that to like help with the protein levels.
Hmm.
But I will say I was never huge on mixing it because I loved it so much. It's one of those like, you
You
know
just
how
want to
I
eat it plain.
yes, I just want to eat it plain. Like you know
There's
how
probably a
I
lot of listeners right now that are like gagging because they can't handle the texture of cottage cheese. There's so many people that
we're
just are like,
just
cottage
sitting
cheese
here.
talk, I'm out.
Guys, there's just certain foods where like biscuits, like if you give me a good biscuit, I would never put butter and jam on it because a
Hmm.
biscuit by
Hmm.
itself is the most amazing thing you are going to eat. And I
Hmm.
would never ruin it with any other taste flavor other than the biscuit itself. And
The
I
other
feel
thing
like
is
that
though,
was very
cottage
cottage
cheese is
cheese for
so
me.
good that even lactose-free cottage cheese is damn good.
Oh, I've
And
never
I'm
tried
like,
it.
how did they figure
How did
this
they
out to make
do
such
it?
a perfect food?
They're
Like
taking the
all they had to do was leave it out in the sun too long and it became perfect.
they're taking the milk out of cottage cheese now.
Just get
That's
a
the
little
rule
bacteria in
now.
there
That's the
and it became
game.
perfect. That's the rule.
That's the rule. That's the game.
That's the
Um,
rule now.
no,
Am
but
I
I
supposed
did.
to be attracted to that?
Oh,
That's the goal now.
that's the goal. That's the rule. Laura, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying besides a big old bowl of cottage cheese that turned off
I
every
did have cottage
listener?
cheese earlier, so this is not actually
Topical.
that far from what I've been enjoying. Um, my birthday was recently,
Happy
and
birthday.
thank you, Hannah. And
I posted
I
a photo, and you know what I realized? We do not take photos together. I posted a
no,
photo of me in my wedding dress because there are very few photos of us together, and that is one of them.
maybe
Like,
it might be the last one we get.
well, I forgot. I was like, why didn't I post one of our live show this year? Like,
That's
I
true.
had
We did
one
we did
booked and
appear together
ready.
at that.
So I don't know. Who knows? So
I think I don't know about you, but I don't take many photos of myself. I like me and my husband, we don't have that many photos together, honestly. I don't try super hard like when I go to events to be like, oh, take a picture of us or whatever. I
Mhm.
need to be better about it because I'm going to look back at some point in my life and be like, well, I lost 10 years in here somehow. And
I
and
do
it
love a
might
good
already be happening.
selfie, but I do love a good picture of us. I have trained my husband though to like cover my body a little bit in a way that strategically makes me look thinner. So
Oh, okay.
like, he has been trained and like you'll watch it when he's like taking a photo with me where he's like, I have to shift my arm like this. And I'm like, thank you, honey. I love you.
I feel like I just don't like to have photos taken very much. I am very much holding to the fact that I look better in person than in a photograph always. And if you see a photo of me, that's not a good representation of what I look like. So you need to see me in person to get the real effect. The humor really plays into it, I think. I have such a sparkling personality that you don't get the effect, just the
Guys,
still.
in reality, Laura looks like freaking Keira Knightley sometimes in photos. So
That's
she
not
needs to
true.
like slow her roll.
That's not true. I see pictures of myself and I'm scared. I don't know if
I'm scared. Oh
yes. Yeah, quite bad photos. But anyways, so yeah, I just don't take a lot of photos. But where was I even going with that? Oh,
You
you
were going
posted a
on, it's
picture
your
of my
birthday.
birthday.
It's
Yes.
your
I don't know how I
birthday.
got on photos. Oh my
I
gosh.
I got on photos. I said I
You
posted a
derailed
picture of
me.
us. Yes,
You
always.
derailed me. But on my birthday, it was a really nice day. I got to spend, my sister wanted to have a pool party. And so my parents have a pool. And so my sister and I, we spent a good long time swimming in the pool. It was like a 90-degree day, and the pool was feeling nice. So
Beautiful.
I don't get to swim that much. And since my parents have got their pool, I've swam a lot more than I ever have. So it's been great. And I really love to swim. So it was actually a
Same.
really nice party, quote unquote party. I just kind of hung out with my sister most of the day and we talked and laughed and swam a lot. My sister loves to swim to the point she did not want to get out of the pool. And every time I would like get out or like act like I was going to do this or that, or even when we got out for a while and we're having a break and having a snack, if I like walked towards the door, she'd be like, where are you going? Are you going back to the pool? She was ready to dive right back in. But it was her first like big swim day of the summer as
Mm.
well too. And she was a lot more active swimming than doing a lot more active swimming than me, where she was like full on like breaststroking across the pool and like
Oh, she was
going
having a time.
oh she's actually a really excellent swimmer and she was like going under and I don't know what you call it where you do like the really wingspan swim
Oh,
and
I wouldn't know.
I don't know, but it looks nice. It's like the type of swimming that you see professionals do on TV almost. Not the butterfly. It's not like Olympic swimming, but nice swimming.
Yeah.
And she was doing the full lengths of the pool and everything, and she was very sore
Oh
at the
no.
end of the day. And so that was kind of funny to me that she'd done such hardcore swimming that she was feeling sore, and I was just kind of like floating around.
Having a
So,
time.
and not 4 hours of hardcore swimming like she was. But no, it was fun to swim for a day and do that and spend time with her. And then my parents were nice and made me dinner. That was nice too. Got to hang out with them and spent time with my husband, so that was nice. And so yeah, my birthday was fun, and I had my puppy there too, so it was the whole gangbang was there. But I've been reading Demon Slayer by
Mm.
Koyoharu I'm gonna say this wrong. Gotouge. Uh, Demon Slayer is really fun. I was watching Demon Slayer and then decided to get into the manga. Super fun. I have really been enjoying it. I love Tanjiro. I love the concept of a demon slayer who has a demon sister that he's trying to turn back into a human and how they have this unique relationship where we're seeing
Hmm.
a demon who is actually protecting humans and working with demon slayers to protect humans and uh, fight for the greater good and turn themselves get to a point where they can reach powerful people to help turn her back into a human. I think that it's a really fun concept, and we are dealing with unique relationships and seeing people handle power and death a lot. And I think these are like really any kind of action anime or manga, you're dealing with a lot of themes of like death, purpose, and relationships. And Demon Slayer is no different than any of the others that I've read that are high action.
Okay.
And I think it's just really fun. I like it. I've also been reading the Dr. Aphra Star Wars comics.
Oh, good.
I find these delightful. And my
Laura's
favorite
here for it.
my favorite part is that there is a droid named Triple Zero who has a strong bloodlust.
Obviously.
Triple Zero is so freaking funny. Triple Zero resembles C3PO and is black, but wants to just like kill everyone and feels very annoyed by having to be reined in by Dr. Aphra and not just being able to, go free for all and murder a bunch of people. And it's just absolutely delightful to see this murderous droid want to scheme around and cause havoc to be able to murder people and then like pull out corkscrews and stuff like that. It's very funny. And I think that's like my main draw to these Dr. Aphra comics is I'm like, is Triple Zero in this? Because that's what I'm here for. More Triple Zero. And then I've been watching Blue Box, the anime, which
Okay.
is a super adorable romance anime featuring these high schoolers. So it's based on the manga series written by Koji Miura, and it was only 25 episodes on Netflix, but it focuses on two students in high school, a third year student named Taiki Inomata, who is a young boy who plays badminton and is really trying hard to make it to basically like the championship level, the highest level that he can make it to for his school. And he develops a crush on a girl he sees working really hard at the gym who is a basketball player and is trying to make it to championships in basketball with her team. And her name is Chunatsu Kano, and she is older than Taiki. She's like it's like a sophomore senior situation, I think, as
Okay.
their age differences, but it's really cute and we see their relationship start to develop and then things get more complicated because Chinatsu's family has to move for career reasons, but Chinatsu wants to finish out the rest of the school year and has no place to stay. Wait, Taiki's family takes her in, so his crush is living with him now at his
Beautiful.
house. And so he's forced to face his crush all the time, and it's just cute to see their relationship develop and him get all these like weird anxieties about like, oh my gosh, did she think that's weird that I did that? She just saw me in
Oh,
my house. Do people think it's weird that we're walking home together? And it's like all of the anxieties that you would see high schoolers likely having play out. And I think it's just a really cute series because we have these students who are communicating really well and dealing with the ins and outs of like working hard to balance school and relationships and working
yeah.
towards goals, but also dealing with like complications of like, oh, is it normal to have these types of feelings? I don't know. It doesn't feel normal. Oh, other people have these feelings. Okay, I guess it is okay. And I just really appreciate that. I had read the first few volumes of the manga and then I couldn't get access to anymore, so I decided to jump into the show and it was well worth it. I really liked the show. It was very, very cute. Highly
That's awesome.
recommend.
Good to
So Hannah,
know.
what have you been reading, watching, enjoying?
Well, for reading, I w got into my romantasy or some
Mm.
romantic fantasy gothic. One Dark Window by Rachel
Oh,
Gillig.
this is a very popular one.
This is a very popular one. It was very funny because I literally read it and then I finished it on May 25th and I was hanging out with my husband's coworker this weekend and he and I were talking about books and he was like, I read One Dark Window and I was like, oh, really? What's that about? And he started describing it. I go, well, I'm an idiot because I just read this book. So I'm bad with name titles, but I did recognize that I had read the book
Sure.
eventually. Um, but
Sometimes the
this
titles are so similar, but I can recognize a cover.
Right. Yeah. And that is my thing. Like, One Dark Window is so specific that I was like, oh, I would never have
It
remembered
almost
that
sounds
name.
like a thriller.
Yeah, it does. And it is kind of thriller-esque because it is like a very gothic fantasy setting where we have this mist that was created by um, these gods who, they created this kingdom, they gave it magic, but then they kind of like turned or it costs too much, and so you're not supposed to go into the mist because it can make you sick. And our protagonist, Elspeth, of course, her name is Elspeth. It is a romantic book. She was in the mist and she survived it, which was unheard of
Cool.
to her. So usually, if you do survive the mist, sorry, like it's not unheard of, but if you do survive the mist, you get magic, and oftentimes you have to die because magic has a power. It's a whole structured system. But she gains magic, but she hides it from the rest of the world. And there are these specific types of cards that can give people powers that are approved magic. And she accidentally takes in one of the like demons or gods within the card, and he's with her throughout this entire story. And then she meets a highwayman who isn't what he seems, and she gets thrust into this story of doom and gloom and questionable princes and all of the above. Um, this had a lot going on. Like I
Yeah, it
feel like,
sounds like it.
yeah, it was a very interesting book. I thought like Gillig did a really good job of creating this world. It's very atmospheric. It's very dark. I liked like a lot of the world building, which is usually not something I'm super into, but like the cards being used for approved magic and like the way the system works and the way the system is set up was super interesting. They're called Providence cards.
Okay.
And like they're trying to cure the world from this mist, but people can get powers through it, but it's like frowned upon. It's all very interesting and like there was a description of like it's mercurial, and I was like, yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if it's like the best book I've ever read, and I don't even know if I enjoyed it as much as other books I've read that aren't like super well written but have a good expansive story. I would say overall
Okay.
it was like an okay read, but like this book is so popular. So lots of people love this book.
hmm
I don't regret reading it. I would just say like certain parts of it weren't quite for me, or like
Sure.
just I found it to be really long in parts. And I think I used to love a dark and broody man as the main love interest, and I think I've kind of lost interest in that in my in my older age, where I'm just like, you're dark and broody, but I need you to actually have a personality that isn't just like I like this person and I'm being told that
It's
you're interested.
astounding how when you get into a really nice relationship that you're like, I no longer want dark and brooding. I
Well,
just want a stable man who I love, and that has happened for you, Hannah.
yeah, it has. Well, like the thing is I could still do some like dark and twisty, but like the dark and broody, if you don't have anything that's like connecting them, and like a lot of this, I got told they have
Sure.
conversations, but they don't happen on page, and I got told he cares for her a lot, but it didn't really happen on page, and it was like almost like one of those where it's like I want a little bit more romance if I'm supposed to buy
Is this
into
a
these.
YA or no?
No, it's not. So like
Interesting.
it just I didn't feel it on like in my, and maybe if I read it I would feel a different way instead of listening to it. It's both reading but like read it with my eyes. But like
hmm
it something was missing and it felt a little long for me. So I don't know if I'll
Okay.
pick up the second book, but I'm sort of interested. I'm not saying like it's a bad experience or people shouldn't read this book. It's just like certain
hmm
parts didn't really work for me overall, even though I very much enjoyed the world. And I feel like I'm usually the opposite, where I'm like,
And you
I
said
really,
this is a dark romantasy one.
yeah, it's more like dark romantasy. So
Okay.
it's a duology, I think. I don't know if there's a third one coming out. So like I'm like, I could read the second one and see what I think. But like overall, it was good, not great. Um,
How long
but
was the book, if you don't mind me asking? Because you said it got a little long, but I'm just curious how long it was to listen to.
it was 12 hours and 45 minutes.
So not
So not
horrible.
horrible, but like it just there were
When they
certain
start to
parts.
approach 20, then is when I'm like,
That's true. But there were certain parts where I was like, I don't really need to know this much about like it felt like we were retreading certain ground sometimes and it wasn't like
sure.
as clear and linear. But again, like people love this book, so I'm not gonna
Yeah,
knock
it's
it.
very popular. It's very
Yeah.
popular.
I think I usually am someone who
I mean,
doesn't
you're allowed to
appreciate.
knock it if it's not for you. It's
That's
just,
true.
it's for other people. It's just not for you.
I usually am someone who doesn't care that much about the world, and I feel like the world was more interesting than the plot for me in this book. And that's an interesting take because
Okay.
it's not something I usually find when I'm
Yeah, it's
reading.
not like your
So
usual focus. You're usually more interested in the characters.
yeah, I know. So that was fun. And then on the other side, I read The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. This book, So I'd listen to the audio. I do not recommend listening to the audio because I
Okay.
think you will gain more experience reading the physical book. I got to see the physical book towards the end of my listening experience.
Okay.
And this is such a good book. So, Jimenez is a Filipino American writer. Um, he created this like epic fantasy where we start with this narrator who has this Filipino grandmother, or like that's kind of the coding of it. We don't actually know where they're from. So, apologies for that. But she's a storyteller and she tells this narrator about how you can, if you are lucky enough, you may see a play at this inverted theater. And it's kind of like everything is turned in on itself. And the grandma is talking about how this narrator is so important and how much they care about storytelling and how wonderful they are. And then the narrator does visit the inverted theater, and we hear this beautiful winding tale of this these people suffering for centuries under the moon throne and this royal family who took the moon captive and used
Mm.
her to create sons and have used her for generations until there are three terrors of men who rule the countryside and two men who will change the future forever. And then we meet Kima, who is this outcast. He was a former mercenary who lost his arm, and he is put on this wild ride when the moon comes knocking, and he has to go on this journey. And it's just this huge sweeping tale, and it has so many underlying things because you are in the inverted theater, but you're also learning about this narrator and their family, but you're also learning about Kima and June, and like it's so good, Laura. This book is so
It sounds
expansive
amazing.
and it's amazing. Like Kima is such an interesting character. There were so many moments where you're confused. There was a huge joke that we had where like the world building in and of itself is just beautiful. You don't really know where you're at in the world, but you know that there's this war going on and there are these terrors in the countryside and they're all fighting for things. But like they're created from the moon, so they're like kind of godly, but they also have like humanistic structures put on them, and the magic system is really interesting. And it's just like this big, huge family drama of like, who are these people and why are they so messy? And the moon is this complicated character who you don't know if you love or you hate, but you also have like these talking animals throughout it. It's so expansive and wonderful. And I actually remember our friends over at Friends Talking Fantasy, Charles talking about this book and him being like, I think this book is one of the best books I've ever read. And I would like tend to agree. And I actually am mad at myself for not reading the physical copy of this book.
There's still time.
I know I read it for book club, so I kind of just ran out of time. But
Sure.
so I own the audiobook of it, but like it's one of those books where I'm like, I think I could reread this once a year and just like pick new
Hmm.
details and like learn something new every single time. You get a little bit confused in it. There's no like good or happy. Like you hear that it's a romance, but like it's still kind of tortured and like sad. And there's so many deeply like problematic people that you're still kind of rooting for and you don't know why. I loved this book so much. It's so expansive. It's like exactly what you want an epic fantasy to be. I cannot like recommend it enough. I think everyone should read it. There were people at the book club who were like, I don't really know. It didn't really make sense to me. And I'm like, no, it all worked for me. And I will say the beginning is a little confusing. So if it's not working for you at the beginning, like stick with it because like the confusion at some point breaks through to like you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, we are on a whole different level than I thought we were. Because when you're reading at the beginning, and a physical copy would help. Because when I was listening, like there are breaks in different sections where they'll have like little things in italics of like setting the scene of the play. And if you're listening to that, you don't really know that that's what's happening. You just hear a
Mm-hmm.
random line, and then all of a sudden there's stuff. And then there's a lot of internal thought. So when you're listening to the audio, it's a little bit confusing on what's
Sure.
happening in someone's mind versus what's happening on the page.
Yeah.
But like, it is confusing at the beginning, but the inverted play kind of gave me this beautiful like night circus vibe of like it's ephemeral and like just getting under your skin. And like you're on this 5-day pilgrimage with Kima and June, who's like this guilt-stricken companion, and they're just trying to like learn about each other, and they're like fighting a lot of the time, and it's like very good. It's very queer. I loved this book. I like it was one of those where the first third of it, I'm like my sister-in-law and I were talking, or the first like 20% of it, we were like, there's a lot happening, but I don't really know what's going on. And then like the next time we both spoke to each other, we're like, is this the best book we've read this year? It was very
Yes.
jarring. And so I highly
You've read
recommend
a
this
lot of
book.
books that you've really enjoyed a lot like that this year.
I've had so many five-star books, and this is like right up there.
I think that's
It's
funny though, because you've told me like off mic before, like, this is not a good reading year for me. But then you'll come to the pod with these books and you're like, this is possibly one of the best books I've ever read, and you'll sell it in this way. And I'm like, that I don't know, sounds like a pretty good reading year to me.
I actually think 2026 is I feel like I'm not reading as much, but I feel like the books I'm reading, I'm enjoying more
Yeah,
than
it's
I
like 10
have
out of
before.
10.
I know I've rated so many books 5 stars because like I feel like I'm
Hmm.
just reading books that I genuinely love.
High quality for sure.
And this is a very high quality book. And I think you should definitely go read it, Laura. It's a standalone. Like those don't
Hmm.
happen in epic fantasies. Like, and it's queer and it's amazing. I don't know. Um, it's yeah, it's just so good. There are so many wonderful moments. There was a joke that like at one point you have these like talking turtles who are like very bickery, like they're all searching for their god and they talk a lot. And my I was ahead of my sister-in-law, and she was like, well, are there any talking like tortoises right now? And I was like, no, they haven't been around for a while, but I'm with some talking apes right now. And then I was confused by the listening experience, and I came back and I was like, I think there might have been a tortoise in the van the whole time. And so then we were laughing because like that's such a good phrase to use in a book where you're like confused and you didn't recognize
Hmm.
something of like, I think we had a tortoise in the van the whole time, guys.
Tortoise there the entire
He
time.
was, and he was not there. You met him right after the apes, and I just like wasn't. I didn't
Hmm.
recognize the line, but like Laura, highly recommend. I think it's a good book. It's exactly what I like, which is like very moody,
Sure.
but also very interesting. And there are different lines that like didn't work for some people. So I also like a book that is a little bit like some people hate it, and I'm like, but I loved it. Like
Hmm.
so, highly recommend. But it's so funny because I'm looking at Storygraph and they're like, for readers drawn to avant-garde epic fantasies. And I'm like, yes, it's avant-garde. And then for watching, I'm laughing because it's so funny how you can get dragged into a show and you're sitting there watching it and you're like, I don't know if this is good television or if it's bad television, but I know I'm watching it.
But it's television.
And it is Sterling K. Brown's Paradise TV
Oh, you
show.
mentioned watching this before that your husband wanted to
Yes.
watch, and you said, get out of the room. I'm watching this by myself.
I'm watching it by myself. So I started watching it. I got through one episode when my husband was there. I've now watched like the first season in full and then the first couple episodes of season two. And guys, this is a political thriller for your dad. And Hannah's just watching it.
Oh, okay.
Like, this is made like so many scenes I'm watching and I'm like, this is for dads. Dads would love this TV show because it's so many like meetings in rooms where Sterling K. Brown is like, we have to take him down. And you're like, yeah, I guess Sterling K. Brown. I
Okay.
don't really know what we're doing here. But this is a TV series and it is a political like thriller series where all of America in the first episode, this is kind of a like bait and switch, so you're not supposed to know this. So skip 60 seconds if you don't want paradise to be ruined for you. But you find out that the president, who is James Marsden, was murdered, the American president. And then at the end of the episode, you find out that they're all in a bunker and America has ceased to exist outside of the people who exist in this bunker that is giant
Hmm.
and inside a mountain. And the big question is who murdered the president because there's about 20,000 people there. Who could have possibly done this? This is an idyllic existence. And
Hmm.
also there is an America outside of it that is desolate and no one survived and da, da, da. And Sterling K. Brown's wife died during it. And then he's looking into this and it's kind of a system that's like run by billionaires, which is funny to me how many TV shows like even on proper like Hulu TV that like this is prime time pretty much I would say, and it's still like, hey, billionaires, they're bad people. This it's corrupt all the way down. But it's about like billionaires who bought their way onto this like site and created this world, and now they kind of run things with the president in their pocket and what that means. So the overarching theme of season one is who killed the president, but also what's going on and is there a bigger story out there? And it is just like political thriller that is my husband like has seen random scenes now and he keeps going, why is it always at a 7 out of 10 every episode? Every scene is a seven. Like everyone is doing the most
The
and you have to
most.
be the most worried about it. And it does kind of feel like a little bit of a knockoff Last of Us in certain scenes in
Mm.
season two, where you're like, I don't know what we're doing here, but I guess we're here. Um,
Mentioning the bunkers and everything, that made me think of Fallout.
yeah, and it is a little bit of like Fallout, and like it's one of those where I'm like, yeah, I think this is TV shows for your dads. I think dads are meant to like love this show. I I know like it's fun to watch. It keeps Sterling K. Brown employed, so I'm happy it's there. And like, of course, like he's gonna make sure there's a diverse cast. But it is just wild to watch a show that is always at a 7 to 11 on like intensity, when also it's just like the billionaires are the bad guys. Like,
Mhm. Where it's like, we can predict what's going to happen here, but we're going to make this seem incredibly tense.
and also there's always something where like there's moments where I'm just like, oh, that man's about to die because he has to within the storyline, and it's
Hmm.
so callable and so predictable, and you can just kind of turn it on and let it wash all over you. And that's an okay thing for a TV show. I don't think this is, again, it's like one of those where I'm like, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's bad. And you know what? I think I'm missing mediocre television in my life. Like, I think we're at a time where our attention spans are the worst. And it's almost because like it has to be prestige or nothing. Like we've convinced ourselves that like it has to be amazing or it's not worth my time. And I'm like, no, sometimes it's just Sterling K. Brown being like, who murdered the president? Like,
I do think that there are a lot of shows on like Hulu, especially that are like kind of primetime shows. There are primetime shows that are appearing that are like just kind of mediocre. And
yeah.
you can find them on Hulu. I think on this is maybe going to be a bit of a hot take. There are like the popular shows that are streaming that people are talking about all the time. There is such high quality that is expected
Yes.
of these shows, and they deliver a lot. And that's a hot take for someone that's complained about a lot of very popular TV shows that are streaming. But I do think that like a lot of these shows, like I was just recently last week talking about Righteous Gemstones. I think that that is just a very high production quality, good
Yes.
acting, excellent actors. Like the sets are amazing. Like the camera quality is amazing. Like cinematography is all amazing. And it's very funny. The writing is great. We expect a lot from streaming shows, and I think that we've just kind of gotten used to it. And even like the high quality shows we're becoming more critical of, and it's like it was unheard of to find a show this funny and this topical and this
Or it's going the
well
other way of
produced.
like it has to be like Ginny and Georgia levels of insane, where I'm like,
Hmm.
this is a TV show for dads. Like it is completely mediocre, and I think that that's fine. And someone has to be watching mediocre TV, so it's gonna be me this week
Hmm.
because it was easy to watch a season and a half when I had the time and I was feeling stressed out of
Sure.
my mind. So I will say it's very funny how much they bring in Elvis in this show. I don't know why. And like the moments of like this is for dads is so funny to me because you're sitting there watching it, and in season one James Marsden is obsessed with 80s like bands, and so every needle drop at the end of an episode is an 80s band but slowed down, Laura. So it's
Okay.
like, I always feel like somebody's watching me.
Oh my
And
gosh.
like you're sitting there and you're like, this is for dads. Okay, it's
Do they
just
do
dads.
Thunderstruck?
No, I don't think so. But like you should look up the you should look up the music because every time a needle dropped, I was like, yeah, I guess. And then like season two, there's like an Elvis callback. So like a lot of it is just like slow down Elvis music. And I'm like, it's a TV show for dads. I don't know what to tell you, Hannah. What were you
How many
expecting?
seasons are there of this show already?
There's only season two. Shailene Woodley is in season two,
Oh my.
and she was involved in the biggest surprise to me personally. But like everything is callable in this show. Most of it you're just watching it and you're like, and also like everyone is incredibly unreasonable in this show, where like small spoilers, like at the end of season 2, Sterling K. Brown learns something and he decides to leave the bunker, but he decides to leave the bunker within like 12 hours because he's like, well, time's ticking. They're going to stop me. I'm going to leave right now. And I'm like, sir, you have not planned enough. It is, you don't know what's out there. You have no information and
Hmm.
you're just leaving a bunker. That's not a well thought out plan.
No.
And he just does it. And then in season 2, like he and Shailene Woodley are talking, and she's like, you have to take me here. And he's like, I need, like, they're in Memphis, and he's like, I need to go to Atlanta. And she's like, no, you're taking me to Colorado. And it's like, Shailene Woodley, that is not a reasonable thing to ask a human who has to go to Atlanta. He cannot take you there first. It's just not possible. He flew a plane there. He crashed. It's serious. You can't just threaten him. So you're just watching so many things of like, why is everyone acting like their worst self right now? And also like
What's happening? What's going on?
you're a little bit mad at her because she wants to go find her like boyfriend or whatever, but she refused to leave with him. And then she's like,
Hmm.
I'm finally ready to go meet up with him again. And I'm like, this could have been solved by you leaving the room when he was ready to leave with you. That feels like it was the answer, but okay. Um and of course, he's like the kid who used to be engaged to Dove Cameron, who is British, but he has an American accent in the show. Um,
Okay. I don't know who this is.
so he was from the movie The Descendants. You wouldn't know that. Um,
Okay.
but he's a very good looking man. I don't know. But like,
Okay.
yeah, it's just one of those where you're like, there's so much happening and yet like not much is happening and we're kind of just ripping off a bunch of other shows. But again, I'm glad Sterling K. Brown is employed and it's going to be a diverse cast. Oh, also the other insane thing, again, this is a show for dads. The psychiatrist who's in the bunker is like the most important political character. And I'm just sitting there like, but why? Like, why does she have so much influence? She's just a psychiatrist. Like, I don't understand. I physically don't. She's a psychotherapist, I'm sorry, and grief
Okay.
specialist. And she is like advising the president and the billionaire woman who's like underneath it all. And they call her Sinatra. And I'm like, why? Why is the what was she qualified to do? Because it just seems like she was qualified to be a therapist, and then all of a sudden we put her into power so we could have an empath in the room. And that is weird. Why are we doing that?
Sounds like there's some really interesting writing choices that were
There's
made.
so many interesting writing. But like it has James Marsden and Sterling K. Brown. So like yeah, it's a show for dads. And
Hmm.
guess what? It seems popular. And it has like 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I don't know who's rating it other than your 50-year-old dad. But like what's going on, guys?
I don't know how to feel about Rotten Tomatoes anymore.
I don't know. It was renewed for a third season, so we're gonna get more of it, whether we like it or not.
You're
But
giving us all the updates on it.
I could just start, guys. Here's what you missed on Paradise.
Here's what you missed on
Um,
Paradise.
and it's made by the guy who wrote like who's the filmmaker
Good
for Cars,
dreams,
Tangled.
not my love.
Yes, it will go into Michael Jackson.
Yes.
'Cause she's a thriller now. Yes. So strange, guys. I don't understand, but you know, what you gonna do? With that, Laura,
Sounds amazing.
no notes. Show for dads.
10 out of 10.
Um, Sterling K. Brown does a lot of blinking acting. Have you ever noticed that? Like
Blinking?
whenever he's upset, he like starts blinking a lot. Like,
Oh,
and I'm just like, that's a lot of blinking on screen, my
I guess I've
guy.
never noticed that.
Well, now you
I
can.
need to watch more of his work, apparently.
Go watch all of Paradise.
Oh, shoot. Don't have Hulu anymore. Oh, can't check it out.
Shoot.
Darn it.
Well, Laura, shall we dive in to Platform Decay?
Yes.
Emotion check.
Emotion check. You know
Confused
what? I
about what
think we
we're
should
going to
start
talk
with that
about.
because the emotion check is such a huge part of this, similar
Yeah.
to the way that Redacted was a
Hmm.
huge part of the last book. I think it was the last book, correct?
Yeah.
System Collapse
Yes.
had Redacted.
Yeah.
And I think that emotion check is way more effective than Redacted.
I think I think they both have their place because Redacted was
Yes,
supposed
I
to be
don't
about
I don't have a
showing.
problem with Redacted. I
Yeah.
just think that I find emotion check more effective in terms of like showing Murderbot's growth. They both
Yes.
are modes of doing this, but I think emotion check, and maybe it's because it's more obvious because we are getting the play by play, but I think it's more preferable to me when I'm reading it where I'm like, oh yeah, we can definitely see how Murderbot's growing.
Well, I do think you are right that this is a good, effective use of showing Murderbot's overall growth throughout even the entire series. Because a lot of this, like, I reread All Systems Red last year, and it made me think a lot about the differences between Murderbot then and Murderbot
Hmm.
now. Because I feel like the Murderbot we've seen has had different iterations of I don't care about humans. I don't know why I care about this situation. What am I doing? Why does this matter? And like it keeps going on this personal growth. And I do think like Murderbot's overarching arc is going towards being the sec unit with like a ton of humanity at the end of this. And we always talk about like they're the most human thing. It's the most human thing out of
Hmm.
all the characters because we get to see it the most. And I think emotion check is a really effective way to show that type of growth where
Yeah.
it, for so long, didn't know why it was feeling something or didn't know why it was reacting in certain ways. So
It didn't
actually,
understand emotions,
yeah,
really. So
and didn't
now that
understand
it's
that it had
having
them.
emotion checks.
Like, yes. And so it's kind of that first step of like personhood where you're recognizing like, oh, my actions come from somewhere. Where do they come from? My emotions. So shouldn't I be looking at my emotions?
Hmm.
And it's something that is so simple that even Murderbot points it out at the beginning of the novel, where it's like, I could have installed this. It's so simple. And
Hmm.
Bartois is like, but would you have? And Murderbot just like goes and pouts in the corner because it's
It
upset
didn't
about it.
value that, though, is the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's interesting that it wants to connect with its emotions and see the reasons why it feels drawn to things now. That it
Yes.
feels a need to have these check-ins.
It is interesting that it's having that, especially because it sprouted from Redacted. Like the Redacted showed that it
Hmm.
could get bad enough that Murderbot needed help and needed
Hmm.
to check in with itself more often because I think that that's a very human reaction, especially when you're going through something so traumatic, is to say, I'm fine. I've never had to check in on myself before. And then the recognition that you actually need help is very hard to deal with.
Yep.
And then the after effects of actually actively working on yourself is very unique. And to see it like literally on the page with an emotion check is very refreshing.
You know what? I honestly think the way that I'm vibing with this is that Redacted maybe is just more frustrating to me as a person because I think that that's personally something that I would be more drawn to do is redact
Hmm.
things from my own experience. And I think that that's maybe more frustrating to me. And as a reader, I want to aspire to be more like emotion check Murderbot
Yeah.
rather than redacted Murderbot, where think that maybe me as a person, I'm more drawn to being a redacted type Murderbot than I am with leaning more towards emotion check Murderbot, even though I should be emotion check Murderbot and try to be.
Nothing makes me more frustrated than when my therapist is like, "Where do you feel that in your body?" And I want to be like, "I don't care where I feel it in my body." Like you do have a redacted, like that's redacted. I don't care.
Mhm.
I do think you're right. Like it is very human and realistic to be more redacted than to be able to
Mhm.
check in with yourself. And it shows Murderbot doing the work. And like it is nice to have that because it's nice to also see Murderbot emote those things where like it used to get frustrated a lot more. And now it's
Mhm.
like, now I feel guilty. I just feel guilty. I like that stinks. And you're like, yeah, that does like it's the
And maybe it's because this one is more action packed than
mhm.
previous things because we're tossed right into the middle of a
Yeah.
mission, really. But maybe I'm just thinking because it's more action packed, but it does seem like in this one, it's kind of going with the flow a little more, maybe because it has to, because it's in the middle of a mission. And I think that combined with the emotion checks, we're really like, wow, look at all the growth Murderbot has had. But it is just kind of a consequence of the circumstances and doing the emotion checks. It's not the result of the emotion checks being like, what a more flexible person, resilient person.
I think yes, and because I think a lot of like Martha Wells, obviously, like these are books kind of about therapy in a lot of different ways,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
like the emotion check is important because I feel like when we redact as humans, we're closing the conversation down with ourselves. And it also closes the conversation down with other people. And that's something that like Murderbot has always struggled with of like having open and honest conversations with people on why it's frustrated or why it thinks something and like having to show its own like value. And something I do really like about this novel is Murderbot having a more emotion check on itself allows it to have more open conversations with Farai, where they start talking and then Murderbot sees like a connection in how they're both thinking, and it feels more seen through its connection with a human that agrees with Murderbot on some principles, even though like Farai knows that she shouldn't in some ways. Like she's like, I like if you had actually murdered them, I would have felt so guilty. But Murderbot was like, actually, I needed to hear you say that because no one ever approves of what I do for like I have to do it. I have to make that decision for people. But you giving me that space showed me that you saw my work and saw what I had to do. And it was like it was by being emotionally vulnerable with itself, Murderbot can be emotionally vulnerable for other people.
Well, yeah, I think that when you understand your own emotions, you do have greater understanding for the situations that other people are in. And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of what you're getting at,
Yeah.
and what we see in specifically that relationship. But that's maybe the main one that we get to see on the page is
Yes.
their relationship and also the child who is traveling with them for a good chunk of. I'm not remembering the child's name at the moment.
It's not
Is it
Jay.
Sophie?
Is it? No, Sophie is the daughter.
That's what I mean.
Oh,
Sophie's the daughter.
Sophie. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Sophie's
traveling with
the other.
them.
Yeah. Sophie kind of just loves Murderbot.
I do think though that it's interesting too to have children interacting with Murderbot because
Yeah.
that is a different level of emotion check where children emote differently and they
Yeah.
have bigger emotions. Their brains aren't fully developed, similar to men in their 60s. And it's that was a joke, everyone. Don't come at me, men in your 60s. Your brains
Our
are developed.
main
It's
listeners,
amazing though.
Laura.
It's amazing though.
We
Just
just
say
got,
that.
hey guys, we just got done talking about your favorite TV show, Paradise.
We're
Like,
really coming for the 60-year-old men demographic. It was a joke, friends. Uh, but no, like children, their brains aren't developed and everything. And I think about how I've seen toddlers react hugely to things like, I
yeah.
really wanted an M&M, and how they have just these huge emotions about things. And as adults, we can look at that and think, it's just an M&M, calm down.
Hmm.
And that to them, they're not able to process these emotions in that way and
Yeah.
understand that like there will be more M&Ms or what have you. And I think it's interesting to have someone like Murderbot who is learning more about its own emotions and
Mhm.
trying to process them and also in high intensity situations and also encountering a child who's dealing with big emotions and fears and trying to then extend understanding to that child also because Murderbot's kind of in a childlike point too of understanding its own emotions. I mean,
Yeah.
farther along because it has greater intelligence than a child, but it's interesting from that emotional standpoint to see them interacting. And also when we bring in more children to see how it interacts with those children who are experiencing big emotions too, and how they want to connect via physical touch and how it actually
Hmm.
recognizes like, oh, this actually does make it seem better to hold
Yeah.
hands or whatever. And I think that's a unique way to show growth and understanding for Murderbot too.
Well, I think it also shows like yeah, I am very impressed overall with how like Murderbot is recognizing human emotion because I feel like in like other books it would have been saying humans are so predictable. They just like the physical touch. But now it's kind of seeing the underlying like, oh, it's important because it gives that like physical reaction and it helps and it does these things instead of looking at it from kind of like that high level. It's actually ready to participate.
It makes me laugh because it's very it's a relatable story, which is odd to say, but it's so reminiscent of how I feel about my own experience in dealing with people,
Hmm.
honestly, because I have basically worked customer service jobs my entire working life,
Yeah.
and I'm someone who deals with a lot of social anxiety. And it doesn't sound like it when I'm on this podcast because I'm talking to my best friend, but I deal with a lot of social anxiety and fear of what I'm saying to people and how I'm interacting with people. And I also deal with a lot of experiences with people. I generally categorize myself as not a people person, but as I've gotten older and progressed through different types of employment, it's been interesting to see how I've grown as a person. I can small talk better. I can understand why people would feel certain ways more. And
Hmm.
it's interesting to see how Murderbot has grown in this time too. And it feels very reminiscent of my own journey in my
Yeah.
like work and how I've grown personally and been more able to interact and understand people from basically exposure therapy, and how this is kind of happening to Murderbot too.
Yeah.
And the emotion checks to me and the redacted and the emotion checks to me feel very reminiscent of like my own delving into therapy and getting help in that way too. So it's very relatable in a weird way.
I I mean, it's hitting the nail on the head, and we talk about it time and time again. Like Murderbot just is one of the most relatable characters in the world, and we are Murderbot because you feel a deep connection to the things it's feeling at
Mhm.
like such a unique level for a character who calls itself Murderbot. So, um,
We
yeah.
do also have like interesting things happening too in terms of like parenting, which I do you have any thoughts on the parenting situations like Leonide and all of that went down?
It's interesting because I mean, at the end of the day, this is a corporation rim, and this is showing how capitalism fails people, including
Hmm.
family members and including people in power. I do think
Hmm.
Leonide is a very perfect encapsulation of how power structures don't just fail the people at the bottom, they fail everyone because the second that you are not on top, you are no longer useful and you are now expendable. And so
And
Leonide
it puts other people connected to you in danger, which
in
it
danger.
did.
And that I Martha Wells is like putting a stark look at like corporations and things like that when
Hmm.
you start treating people like they are just tools and assets because that is what they are mad at Leonide for in this book. Leonide failed to get assets back who were human beings. That
Hmm.
is what she failed at, and that is why she has a target on her back and they want to take her out. And they want to take her family out because she was trying to protect them and save them by getting them off planet because she knew that they were in danger. And it is a discussion of the the privileges of putting yourself in a position of power and what you have to do to maintain that level of power and what you do when you take that away. And I think it's interesting that Leonide wanted to save her family because I think it shows like the human side of like, of course, we see these reprehensible people often in these books because they are talking heads and they are part of the corporation rim, agents, and they're doing all these bad things. But that doesn't mean that they don't have home lives, and it doesn't mean that they don't care about their children. Even if you look at the second father to Janie, was it? Um, he thought he was doing what Janity, he thought he was doing what was best for his daughter, and he thought he was keeping her safe by selling out her mom. And she pointed out, like,
Hmm.
no, you sold out our family. That matters. And you did that to make sure that you stayed protected in a way. And it is a very stark look at the power of privilege and the space we can hold and how it does not serve us, in my
It's
mind.
also a unique portrayal of manipulation of children,
Hmm.
honestly, that made me feel icky, but it happens so often in real
Yeah.
life where we have children who are manipulated to get information from them.
Hmm.
and to be used towards against other
Yeah.
family members. And I thought that it was rough to see it play out like that. And I also thought, honestly, the whole situation surrounding that family was very rough because Leonide dies tragically.
Yeah.
And it's pretty brutal, honestly. And
Hmm.
I think this is one, I think we talked about this before, that this is a little bit different for us because we're used to Murderbot kind of like being the hero, and
Yes.
anybody that's like like within the inner
Close
circle
enough. Yeah.
of Murderbot in a story generally we think has a little bit of plot armor.
Hmm.
And that wasn't the case here. And so it was a little shocking. And I'm sure there's going to be some listeners that are hardcore Murderbots heads that are like, oh no, well actually so and so died. But we haven't read one of the Murderbot books in a while. So I'm just remembering.
Yeah.
And I think that this is maybe one of the few that I can remember being this close to Murderbot or a mission that has died. And I
Yeah.
thought that that was interesting too. But it's just a really rough family situation, and to see it all play out and to see the way that Murderbot and Farai react to Leonide's death is interesting too, because they have complex emotions about this
Yeah.
as well.
Well, because at the end of the day, like Murderbot points out that Leonide probably put Farai and the family into danger. Like that
Mhm.
likely happened to get the motivation to get help from them. But Farai and the family are stopped at a security checkpoint, literally, and it feels like it is a direct relation to a lot of
Mhm.
immigration status problems we have in the world right now and how we are treating our borders of and the way we are treating people as controlling other items. So like it is very frustrating to see family members done like this way. And it's an interesting look because like I think I always like to think about books from like, have there been other books where someone has taken in a family member to force the hand of another person and they were the good guy in the book? Because like I'm sure it's happened. And
Mhm.
Leonide in this book does it. And it is awful. Like you are putting a family in danger for yes, to keep your family safe, but you have decided that this family is worth being put into
Expendable.
yeah, they're expendable because what if you screw up? You've just expended this entire family for the chance of saving your family. And I think in a lot of books we say like, well, that's justified because it's her family. She loves them. And it's like, but is it justified because who is in power in that moment? Because it's definitely not Mensa's family. They're not like
Mhm.
traveling with protection. They don't have that kind of, they were just going to visit her and a daughter in college. Like it's
Mhm.
interesting, all of these different levels she's working on when it comes to family dynamics and like what makes a, a morally, gray character because it's just interesting. Sorry, my mind is a little.
It's all very reminiscent of the real world, and I think even when we talked to Martha, it was very much coming through that this series was created based on frustrations that
Mhm.
she was having with real life situations, and she was adapting those frustrations into this series and this science fiction world. And Murderbot is very much based on her.
Yeah.
And I I think that you're absolutely right in saying that this is very much reminiscent of immigration issues that have been happening in the United States that are absolutely horrendous. I think that Martha's doing a great job of detailing the ways that families can be torn apart and subjected to incredible violence and
Mhm.
danger for the betterment of capitalism.
Yeah.
And it's awful. It,
Yeah.
it's it's truly awful. And I do think too that it's interesting from the standpoint of like we say that like, oh, like people need to be doing the work, this or that. I do think things like this too, like creating a book series like this is also helpful because this is something that opens people's eyes up to how these systems work
Yeah.
in ways that people who are quote unquote checked out of politics will not pay attention to the news. But will they pick up a Murderbot book and then start to think more deeply about what is this related to? Where
Right.
did the author get the inspiration for this?
Hmm.
Yes, that will
Yeah.
happen for a lot of people. And so I do think works like this are very important from that standpoint.
Yeah. Or even the discussion of like, huh, did a good guy ever do this in a book I loved? Like, did they ever keep a family captive? And I sat there being like, go them. And then we're seeing
Mhm,
this character who, like, it is tragic and like they are human. And I think Martha Wells, like, kind of walks that line really well with
mhm,
Leonide of like, yes, she is morally reprehensible. And yes, she has a huge problem. Did that mean she deserved to die? Does that mean her family
right.
deserves to die and doesn't deserve? And like, there are a lot more philosophical quandaries in this book when it comes to Leonide's family because she is someone that you do not root for and you do not
Yeah.
like. And I think Martha Wells does come on the side of like, and Murderbot comes on the side of like, well, there are children involved and there are people involved who we don't know and maybe they deserve to be saved. So should we
Hmm.
not do anything when we could be doing something?
Hmm.
And they decide to take it on. And I think that that's beautiful and it's a beautiful
Hmm.
look at humanity and trying to stand up for what's right.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard to maintain, I guess, extend that grace to people and
Hmm.
also maintain that hope that what you're doing is going to be right, even though
Yeah.
it doesn't feel right to do that.
Right.
And so I think you're dealing with those types of questions in this book for sure.
It's hard.
Oh, absolutely. How'd you feel about like all of the world building and the action? Martha always excels at this, and I'm astounded that she doesn't really plot out the action too much. She just kind of rolls with it as she's writing it.
It's kind of fun to just roll with it with her. Like,
I know it just amazes me though because I'm like, I think I would have to figure out like, is this the correct term?
Laura
Before
wants
I
some
wrote
hard
anything like
science in
that.
her sci-fi.
I think I would be too paranoid that I would be not writing things in the way that would make sense, in a way that would make sense. But
Yeah.
Martha's ability to just like throw you right into action and also like these unique buildings and everything
Hmm.
that seem really cool and they're multi-layered and have like it's surrounding planets and there's elevators and different levels and things like that. And the way that it's set up to show different classes within this system is unique too.
I think it's fun because like I think Martha Wells does a really effective job of dropping you in because Murderbot's willing to comment on it. Like Murderbot's always sitting there looking at the scenery, thinking random things like, why are we on a giant cliff right now? This is a stupid use of space, like all the
Hmm.
rich people want to hang out and look at this instead of being on the actual planet. And it's like, oh yeah, that is just a direct correlation to like rich people communities where it's like we want to build a cliff, but like we don't want it to be real, like
Sure.
it's aesthetic, and I think Murderbot's comments during fights about like how people are fighting or like the fact that it works on multiple layers, it helps keep you interested because you're
Hmm.
part of the commentary. What are your thoughts
Sure.
on it?
I have to agree. I think that it's just effectively done. And yeah, I think that Murderbot kind of being the eternal analyst that it is very effective for the story.
What did you think about three and the portrayal of mentorship or lack thereof?
Murderbot really needs to work on mentorship. It doesn't understand how to mentor and how there's a difference between mentorship and taking away someone's free will.
Murderbot is every single person who they're like, oh my gosh, you're so effective at your job. So we've assigned you an intern so you could teach them. And then, like, the intern walks in and the person's like, I don't know how to teach what I do. I just do what I
Mhm. I
do. And
just
you're
do it.
sitting there like, but could you teach me something?
But it also has like this weird anxiety surrounding three
Yeah.
too that is very heartwarming where it wants three to it wants to know that three feels comfortable and that it
Hmm.
is doing things that it is choosing
Yes.
and it feels uncomfortable whenever three's like I'll just do whatever you're doing. It's like, no, did you want to do that? Are you sure that's what don't you want to just listen to boring lectures? I mean, like is that what you're into? You don't have to do that. Just checking in on you, buddy. Like, is that okay with you? And so I do appreciate that level of anxiety that exists too.
It is very unique of like I do think Murderbot is overcorrecting at the end of the day, where it's so worried that it's going to instill in three some kind of decision upon three when it knows how important it feels free will is, that it doesn't understand that teaching someone about how you live life doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to just accept the way you live life. And I think three proves that when at the end, Murderbot's like, why did you do all this stuff? And three's like, I just figured it was the right thing to do. like, and Murderbot could
It's
have put
so
up
funny
some
though, because it's like
guardrails, but like,
holism has no problem at all, just like giving three a bunch of directions and lectures and everything. And that's so funny to me that it's got this paranoia surrounding like how much do I have to tell three? How much do I dump on it? Am I going to be ruining its life? I don't know. It seems like it's really into lectures. I think it's too much for me to tell it what to do.
I do think that that's like a very specific overcorrection, and like it is
Hmm.
trauma based though, of
It
like
is.
I was controlled. I never want to control you. And like it hasn't learned that there is a certain amount of respect in teaching, in letting someone make a decision and trusting them to take what you're saying at face value. So like you saying you have the choice, but here's how I do it. Like it's not really respecting three's free will because it's not trying to give three like any guidance. It's just making sure that three is just out there doing whatever three wants. And it's like, but that's not helping three all the time. You do need to help. And it is failing
It's
as a
interesting though,
mentor.
because I feel like as we've progressed, Murderbot, it's now reached the point where it's thinking about this type of thing so much where I think previous iterations of Murderbot would have just been like, just do this.
Yeah.
And so now that we're at emotion check level Murderbot, it's actually worried about emotion checks of others. And
Which is
that
good, but
deeply
also,
includes three, who I think Murderbot's even more tuned into three and what's going on with three because it feels this responsibility towards it.
yes,
And I think that's a unique portrayal as well.
I do. I agree. I feel bad because it's just one of
Three's
those where
maybe
it's
the
like,
closest we'll get to any kind of like child experience, I think, for Murderbot in my mind.
yes,
I maybe there are plans for something else, but this seems like the closest to a parental slash childlike experience
but it's
relationship for Murderbot.
also this weird experience of like that weird because you were the first one in the door, you are now expected to teach people. Where like Murderbot's like, I have
Mhm.
no interest in this. And it is interesting to see is like, because like this happened historically to people where it's like, well, you're the first one in the door, so now it's your responsibility for everyone else walking through the door. And like, if you had no interest in that, that is going to be a difficult situation to
Yep.
put you in. And is it fair to you? Probably not. But also, like, eh, it is that weird, like, and this is me speaking as a white woman and speaking as a person who is very privileged, but like sometimes in marginalized groups, like people have to take on ownership of things that they do not want to do for the protection of others. And I do think that that is a very specific thing that might be happening here of like, I don't have any interest in this, but because I want this person to be protected, I am going to have to take it on and learn how to do it. And that's also a really difficult thing. It makes me sad that Murderbot has to do that, even though, like, because it shouldn't have to. Other people should be able to step up, but sometimes that's
I mean,
not
we
the
can speak to that
reality.
experience as women.
Yeah, that's true. But
We can
like,
speak to that experience as women and recognizing the ways that men have failed us and how we've
yeah,
had. I'm being dead serious now.
yeah,
I'm not
no,
even joking. Men, you failed us a lot. And I'm dead serious. No
no, I know.
jokes. Men, you keep failing us. Quit it. And how we've had to step up in situations where we haven't felt the most comfortable and address those types of things. So I think that like you saying, like, okay, we are two white privileged women, but at the same time, as women, we are also expected to do this type of thing when men fail us.
Right. No, I agree. But like it is a very specific thing where I do feel sad on that, where I'm like, Murderbot shouldn't have
Hmm.
to help, but at the same time, like it is a look at like what happens in like marginalized groups who get put into spaces where they are the only marginalized people there. Sometimes the
And you
responsibility
can
and
see
onus.
why the fatigue exists
Yeah.
for marginalized groups where they're like, okay, we've done this how many times? We've told
Hmm.
you, and you're not doing anything, you're not listening, so we're
Yep.
done.
Yep.
And it makes complete sense.
Yeah. Agreed. So, But I did three is an interesting ad. It is very, very cute and heartwarming, but also very frustrating. And Martha Wells does such a good job of showing just the human experience.
It adds a lot of humor too to
Yeah.
the situation. Just I think honestly, people really, when I say people, I mean me too, really enjoy seeing the different AI like art and
Yeah.
holism and Murderbot and three interacting with each other.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
I think that it adds a lot of humor to see these beings trying to figure out the human experience and
Well,
figure
and
out humans who are ultimately extremely unpredictable and bad.
also it's like it's so funny because it is kind of like the different types of rebellion type people, where Murderbot's
Hmm.
like, we have to be smart about this and we have to keep everything quiet. We can't do anything. And then, like, as you open the door, you don't always get to like curtail who you open the door to. And
Yep.
three is like, let's burn it all down. Let's give everyone their
I
governor
gave
module
everyone the
hack.
code.
I gave everyone the code. They deserved it. And Murderbot's like, okay, but we're still on the planet. We're in danger. And three's like, and we can get off. I think we're
Hmm.
fine. And it's just like, oh yeah, sometimes you need that burn it all down person. And
Hmm.
three is ready.
People progress at different times, and that's a good example of it. Yep.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts, Laura?
My final thought is that I liked this one better than the last one.
I did too. I think it was very effective and very
Hmm.
good.
I think I'm on an uptick with how I'm feeling with the series.
I know. Can't wait. She has to write one more. So we get
Good.
at least one more. Uh, All right. Well, everyone, thank you for following along with us. If you're just tapping in for Murderbot, please know that we have other seasons. We loved
Mhm.
all of them. We've done Wheel of Time, the Poppy Wars, the Green Bones Saga. We are going back to the Dresden Files, unfortunately,
We've
after
covered
this.
Legendborn,
We've covered Legendborn, which is an amazing series. We've done the Dublin Murder Squad, some of our
the fifth
favorite
season,
conversations, the fifth season, a Laura-led
the
season.
Broken Earth trilogy.
Broken Earth trilogy. We've just done so much, so please check out some of our other seasons because we do
Mhm.
love them so much.
I'm not
We've
gonna
also
lie, listeners, I would highly suggest you check out some of our Dublin Murder Squad episodes. I am quite proud of those. I think that they are a lot of fun.
They are some of the best discussions I think we've ever had. And if you listened yesterday, you would have found our Maisie Eddings interview. Love her so much. So appreciative she came on the pod.
We talked about her
And
new release, You Won't Forget Me.
out yesterday. So go get that book and
Mhm.
listen to our episode. And then next week, Tuesday, we're releasing a live taping I did with Paul Austin Arduin. So make sure you're checking that out. And then next June 17th, our bonus before we get back into the year of the Dresden, it will be a Murder Most Fungal discussion with Adrian M. Gibson. So please
Adrian,
keep an eye out for that. And then we're getting back to the Dres with Small Favor on June
Jim
24th.
Butcher
So,
is coming
guys,
back. Harry
Harry
Dresden.
Dresden, he will be with us forever, I
I
think,
have to
because
remember. Well, Jim Butcher is just going to continue writing Harry
I,
Dresden for the rest of his life, apparently.
apparently, so we will continue to read them, guys. Three
Yep.
a summer. You get us. It's it's Dresden summer through September
The Summer of
23rd.
Dresden.
So right around the time the kids go back to school, we are done. Uh,
You know what? They're perfect beach reads, though, friends. I mean, I've
it's
already
nice to have a
started,
built-in Dresden
and
summer.
friends, I'm gonna tell you that I immediately get sucked back into the Dresden Files. So I already started, and I I always have a short memory apparently because I really like it. I'm sure by the second book I'm gonna be like, "What's going on? I hate this."
It's usually the first one we love. The second one we're like, what just happened? And the third one we're
I
like, we're
think it's
back to
I,
hating
I
this.
think I
So,
just forget, and then when I get sucked back into this world, I'm like, "Oh, I really miss this. I enjoy it. The cadence is good, and I'm willing to overlook more things." By the time I get to the second one, I'll be back to criticizing a lot harder.
well, I'll buckle up for all of that. Buckle up on Patty, as we said last episode, and follow along with us at owwrpod.com or owwrpod on Blue Sky, Instagram. And I need to get back up on TikTok. I've just been so lazy with that lately. But you can also join our Patreon, where we are doing some catch up on some Dresden episodes, $3 a
Mhm.
month. We owe you some backlog episodes, but sign up for that and we will get you some more of those. And, you can just email us at ourpod@gmail.com and do all of those things.
And thanks for listening today. We really appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.